Hey everybody, this is Doug with Artfully and welcome back. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a water feature out of metal. Now, where we pick up the video, I just got back from the metal supplier. I purchased 16 gauge sheet steel and I paid them to bend that sheet steel into 8" by 8" by 8" channel. So when it gets on my table, I'm going to cut the 45s and then weld on the top. So let's get started. It was nice to have the metal supplier be able to bend the metal the way I needed it to. There's no way I could have done this in my shop. I just don't have the metal brakes to do that. So for right now, I'm just tack welding everything, making sure it's all square. I'm going to build an internal framework out of 1.5" angle, as you can see here. And again, I'm just tack welding everything at this point. By the time I got to here, for the most part, everything had been welded as far as the internal framework and the outer shell. I just hadn't attached the outer shell to the internal framework because I wanted to make sure to stand it up and make sure that everything was square and everything was standing properly before I attached the inside to the outside, if that makes sense. So that's why it's all clamped there right now. Yeah. I just kind of thought this was a cool shot coming through the inside. I'm tack welding the angle to the sheet metal. And then because it is 16 gauge, you have to be real careful about not blowing through, especially at a seam like that. So I had a piece of metal behind there to kind of trick the 16 gauge into thinking that it was a little thicker. And now just kind of smoothing out that weld. Trimming the piece for the inside, so that will now fit inside there. I'll need to access that later on, as you'll see in the video, to get to the plumbing part. Because the whole feature is going to be rusted, I wanted the screws to also be rusted. So I've got muriatic acid, I'm eating away that zinc, and voila! About 30 minutes later, takes off the zinc, and I've got really nice dark screws. Now they look all wet and black right now, but they get more rusted looking. And zing, there goes that little angle piece. So I'm now making the brackets for the plumbing that's going inside the water feature. I'm just kind of using a shower 90 here because it just screws nicely to my metal plate. And gonna get all that copper soldered up and close up. So that's the dead end. So my water's gonna come from the other side and go to this dead end. So you have that cap there. And I wanted to make sure that I had the length ideal inside, so I welded it up inside. So that's my live end, and as you can see, boy do I need a clean lens. Hopefully by my next video you'll see a nice clean lens, or maybe actually by the end of this video. I changed my lens on this camera. So now the brackets are made. I'm drawing my center line for the copper, marking every 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and put pilot holes in. And if you just use holes in the copper, your streams of water are not as distinct. So I'm using irrigation plugs, just knocking off those little edges so that it will shove up into the hole of the copper, just like this. Just pounding those in so that they stay. And then I kind of give them a bead of silicone once all those are in, just to kind of keep them in place. Now this is the water catch basin that I purchased, and I'm going to blow out this center section here so I can put in all of the guts of the fountain. This is going to be the water fill float valve. As you can see, it's very similar to like a evaporative cooler or a toilet bowl. This is the pump. Now you won't see this in the video, but this pump was not strong enough to push the water up. It was supposed to be a 15-foot lift. It was nowhere near that, so I ended up having to buy another pump, and I can go into the details as far as that in the description. So this is inside the tank. As you can see, I've got the pump, I've got the float valve, and it all comes out right there. So now I want this to be rusted, so I am spraying muriatic acid onto the steel, and yes, I should have gloves, and yes, I should probably have a mask. Now I'm using hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide on muriatic acid creates this incredible quick rust. Look how fast that happened. I'm gonna pretty much just jump straight to the install and taking those panels off. What you don't see but already has been done is the tank is on the ground, the footings have been poured, and inside the footings there are some bolts. And as I put the water feature onto the footings, I line the bolts up, and then I can secure the water feature to the footings. And all the stuff that you saw in the tank is inside there. I put in a mesh to keep the rocks from falling in. And for the most part, that's it. That's the fountain. Hey, thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you're interested in purchasing a water feature like this, go ahead and check out my Etsy store, which I'll leave a link to down below in the description. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.